Welcome to Really American. I am Michael Hayne. Once again, JD Vance is stepping in it. I just marvel at this selection. I mean, really, this dude is just so utterly awkward and terrible at pretending to be MAGA. He's just like he kind of reminds me of the dorky kid in school, the dorky rich kid who, like, his parents have to like bribe the other kids to come over and play with him on his birthday party. They got to like give them money so they can come over and play with them. Anyway, JD continues to unravel when it comes to January 6th and when it comes to accepting the legitimacy of the 2020 election, which they still don't do, and which Trump still repeatedly denies over and over again. Anyhow, a recently leaked video of JD Vance on Facebook shows him talking about January 6th and the anniversary of the insurrection.
Hi guys, tomorrow is the anniversary of January the 6th, the most traumatic moment in the history of American democracy. So traumatic, in fact, that the left has felt the need to talk about it 8 times a day for the past year. It's often framed as an assault on our democracy. But the assault on our democracy that too few people are willing to talk about is the fact that dozens of nonviolent protesters on January the 6th are being held in disgusting conditions in Washington, D.C. jails. No Democrats and too few Republicans are willing to speak up for them. They're being denied their constitutional rights. And the fact that so few in our media or in our political establishment are willing to speak up for them is the height of corruption.
Really? Would somebody please think of the rioters? Come on now. Don't think of the children. Don't think of struggling Americans saddled with enormous debt, student loan debt. Don't think of Americans not able to access housing, affordable housing. Don't think of Americans dying because they don't have access to basic health care. Would please, for once, somebody think of the rioters for the insurrection? Now, I don't know who programmed JD Vance's AI, but you guys got to upgrade. Please upgrade the software. Okay. And now I say this because the other day I put out a video in which I showed JD Vance clearly stating that President Biden won in 2020, that it was going to be, that everyone just had to accept it, get over it, and then continue the fight for MAGA. But that they had to acknowledge that Joe Biden won, which is like somehow the maggot, misinformed, moronic universe just can't bring itself to doing that most basic, fundamental thing. Anyhow, and then, of course, JD vamped it up and did that atrocious, disgusting thing at the debate where he basically said, it's a very peaceful transfer of power, which I think the entire country was embarrassed. The entire world was embarrassed. Pets were embarrassed. I guess the ones that weren't being eaten by Haitian migrants, they were embarrassed. Everybody experienced so much secondhand and thirdhand embarrassment when he did that. But as I said, I put out a video in which I have JD clearly saying that President Biden won in 2020. Let's take a look at that again.
I don't see any reason to think that this is going to become violent or chaotic. I think that when Biden is inaugurated, people will more or less accept it, and it'll be on to the next fight.
Now, we have become all too accustomed with Trumplicans manufacturing complete and utter outrage over nothingness, over manufactured inventions that only they are triggered by, rainbow beer cans, black imaginary little mermaids, drag queens reading to your kids, all that, okay? But one thing that is just truly despicable and that we can't abide, the dude can't abide, is when it comes to memory holing January 6th, okay? Vance recently appeared in Detroit, a rally in Detroit, and I'll get to that, how they weren't actually real auto workers there. But there was one key moment in his speech the other day in which a reporter from the Detroit Free Press point blank asked him again about the 2020 election, the acceptance of the 2020 election, and whether his Trump supporters, were encouraged to riot. Let's take a look at that. Go ahead.
Great, this is Clara Hendrickson. I'm with the Detroit Free Press. We're in the city of Detroit today, where we learned in a recent Jack Smith filing that a Trump campaign aide in 2020 allegedly urged supporters to riot at the ballot counting center. So I want to make sure that the senator can hear my question, which is, would you discourage the campaign from engaging in that behavior and from Trump supporters and engaging in any chaotic scene?
So let me answer that question a few different ways. So first of all, of course we discourage rioting. We do not riot. Nobody in this room and nobody in this movement is going to riot. Second of all, your question is about a Trump campaign staffer. And I'll tell you that if you get 1,000 people together, and the Trump campaign probably has a lot more than 1,000 campaign staffers, you're going to find somebody who's willing to say anything, especially in a leaked message or private communication. The idea that the Trump campaign, either in 2020 or 2024, is encouraging people to riot is disgraceful. Of course we're not doing that. And by the way, these fine people are law-abiding citizens who work and pay their taxes. They're not going to riot no matter what anybody says to them. And here's the final point. I think it's interesting that the media is so focused on a random message from a random staffer in 2020. If you want to talk about rioting, let's talk about the summer riots of 2020 that killed 20 people that the media seems uninterested
in. God, he is so cringe. Every time he speaks, I feel like I need 50 showers. Now, I brought up the whole January 6th thing and memory holing that, but the bigger thing here also is that the auto workers seen wearing shirts, auto workers for Trump, weren't in fact auto workers. The lying, blatant lying, bad lying just doesn't stop. And this was confirmed by a reporter with the Detroit Free Press who actually asked them, and they point blank said, no, we're not actually auto workers. Yep, no, we're somehow auto workers for Trump. There really isn't enough alcohol in the world to make these MAGAs remotely tolerable. Anyway, I am Michael Hayne. This is Really American. Please subscribe to our channel and check me out on my latest TikTok at Mike Hayne Comedian.